Hello, Devotchkas. Today we're explaining A Clockwork Orange, directed by Stanley Kubrick and starring Malcolm McDowell. So, this is my favorite Kubrick movie. It's not the best Kubrick movie. The best is 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's a perfect movie. A Clockwork Orange is more entertaining because there's more comedy. There's more, it's brilliantly designed. The production values and stuff are so 1960s pop art. But what it starts out is there's Alex is the main character, and he's like this kind of degenerate teenager in this future that they had imagined in the 60s. So it's like supposed to be around the year 2001. And Alex is like in this kind of group of degenerates. They go and beat up a homeless man who was just asking them for a penny or something like that, just for fun. And they steal cars just to go, driving off into the country. And before that, the first scene is they're in a milk bar, which they put some kind of drugs in the milk, but they the first shot, it's so perfect because it's just one long shot of Alex giving a monologue, and it gets to a close up of his face. And Stanley Kubrick has all of this Illuminati symbolism in his movies, and the reason he only has one fake eyelashes is that's the pyramid eye, the eye of Ra or something that they call it. But all of these shots are supposed to represent, the higher powers controlling us all, basically. So Alex and his friends steal this car. They go out to the country to a house that has this glowing sign outside that just says home, which I just love for some reason. I wish I had that. But they break into the house, and there's two people inside. There's an old man who's writing on a typewriter, and then there's his young hot wife. And Alex and his gang break into the house, and they have masks on, and they just start fucking shit up. They're just there to cause chaos, basically. And they tie up the old man, and they tie up his wife and stuff with tape. And then Alex he's singing in the rain the entire time this is going on. That's the best part. It's a horrible, horrible scene. It's so sad that they're doing this to these people, but he's like, dooby 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 dooby. He's singing in the rain. You got to see that movie too. I will do an explanation video if you let me. But then Alex cuts off some of the wife's clothes, and the next part is implied, but let me say they weren't writing an essay. It was very much implied, but that's what happens in the movie. And even though, you gotta love Stanley Kubrick and stuff, this movie still does have that R-word content that can be kind of triggering for some people, just saying. But it cuts to Alex and his friends. It goes to Alex in his bedroom after that night, and he has all the shit that he's stolen from people, and he relaxes by listening to Ludwig van Beethoven. My musical soulmate. I've ever since I was a child, I've loved Beethoven, and Alex DeLarge, the main character in this movie, calls him Ludwig van. He really understands Beethoven's music so much, and he listens to the Ninth Symphony, and there's this cool montage of shots of things in his room, a chorus line of Jesus's or something in a little statue. It's weird. But after that evening, Alex lies to his mom, says he doesn't want to go to school. So then he picks up some teenagers and brings them home to have sex and listen to his fancy radio that he must have paid for with stolen money. And after that, the guys in his gang want to talk to him. He's like got too power hungry and stuff like that. So they're walking, and there's a slow motion shot of when all four of them are walking. They have like these white suits and these like cod pieces and bowler hats and stuff. And Alex takes his walking stick and he just goes and just like hits one of them in the legs and like starts beating the shit out of him and pushes him into a river. And that sort of asserts his dominance. And so the next thing they do is they go and rob this old rich lady who is like a hippie 60s lady. You know, she's like doing yoga in her house, and she has a bunch of cats and like a bunch of like erotic artwork all over the place. So Alex breaks in first, and he you know, she fights back. She's like, I'll tell you what, you know, what happens when you break into real people's houses. But then he takes a sculpture that somehow looks phallic and like a butt and balls, like all at the same time. And he like smashes her in the face with it and kills her. And so he ends up getting caught because his friends just ditch him after he killed someone. And he goes to prison, where at first, you know, there's like this whole scene where it like, you know, you don't think British prison's going to be that harsh, but they're pretty harsh. And, you know, like they strip search him and stuff like that. And he goes along with it, and he's there for like 4 years, and he really likes reading the Bible because there's violence and sex and stuff in it. And it's like, of course there is. So they put him into this program where they're like deprogramming the violence out of him. So they put him in a chair in a straitjacket, and he's got like a metal thing with electrodes on his head, and he's got his eyeballs clamped open, like for real. Stanley Kubrick did this to Malcolm McDowell. He had these like, they were like paper clips or something that had his eyeballs clamped open. They sat him in a movie theater and just showed him like scenes of violence and war and stuff like that. And it didn't have any effect on him until they started playing Beethoven in the background. And then he couldn't take it anymore. He started screaming, it's a sin! It's a sin to use Ludwig van that way! And I found that so deeply. You don't fuck with Beethoven. But he's like, I'm cured, praise God. And like they're like, oh, look, he's cured. We did a thing and it worked. We psychologically tortured somebody into curing them. Yay. So they kick him out of prison. He goes to his parents' house, and his parents have already rented out his room. And they're like, we don't know what to do with you. And his mother's crying, and the guy who lives in his room is like, I think you should leave. So he's like, okay, I don't know what to do now. And he goes out and gets hassled by the cops. And it turns out the cops are his friends from before, who abandoned him when he, killed the lady and stuff. And they beat the shit out of him. He ends up back at the house of the guy who's like wifey artward. And I'm going to have to speed this up. I'm going to run out of time. And at first the guy doesn't recognize him because Alex was wearing a mask when they broke in. And so Alex has been beaten up. He falls into this guy's house, and the guy's like, oh, let me help you. He like cleans him up and he gives him food, and, lets him take a bath. And when Alex is in the bath, he starts singing in the rain. And so the guy in the wheelchair, now he's in a wheelchair and his wife is dead. He recognizes Alex's voice. And so he starts playing Beethoven as loud as possible. And Alex, because he's been deprogrammed from from watching the violence and associating that with Beethoven, he starts like freaking out, like he's going to like throw up and stuff like that. And Beethoven they had showed that this had happened before on stage. I forgot to tell that part. But he basically like throws himself out a window and injures himself so badly he ends up back in the hospital, and like he's not cured at all. He's basically like he was at the beginning, and the doctors and politicians and stuff are like taking pictures of him like, look, we cured him. So that is A Clockwork Orange. If you have any other suggestions of movies you'd like me to explain, or maybe a part 2 to kind of go more into the details about this, because I'm running out of time. There was so much more. I fucking love this movie. Anyway, subscribe, tip on Venmo, Cash App. I love you.